Welcome to another VeVe Digital Collectibles Breakdown video. I'm Corey with VeVe, and today we're going to be taking aim with the latest drop coming to us from Studio Canal, Rambo. This piece will be released on Saturday, March 11th at 8 a.m. Pacific time with a price of 60 gems. This animated collectible, based on an iconic scene from the second film, Rambo First Blood Part 2, captures John Rambo in an iconic pose. For those of you who don't live and breathe 80s action film awesomeness, don't worry. We're going to cover this collectible, the Rambo franchise, but first, take a walk down memory lane with me. Rambo, whenever I was a kid, was one of those VHS tapes my parents had hidden on a shelf just out of reach. When I was old enough to watch it, my mind was blown. Sylvester Stallone as John Rambo was everything an action hero should be. Strong, selfless, a war hero, seemingly indestructible. From that point forward, I would stalk the woods around my house whispering, "They drew first blood," while launching invisible arrows at invisible enemies, and I wasn't alone in that sentiment. The 80s were an era that defined high-stakes action movies for an entire generation, and Rambo was a character and franchise that largely defined a genre. Beyond just the 80s, the Rambo franchise has become cross-generational, and that's because the movies have now spanned more than 4 decades. The debut movie, First Blood, released in 1982 and kicked the franchise off. Based on the 1972 novel First Blood, written by David Morrell, these movies followed the exploits of John J. Rambo, who was portrayed on screen by Sylvester Stallone. And the collectible that's releasing is specifically referencing the second film, Rambo First Blood Part 2. Released in 1985, this movie takes place after the events of the first movie and after the official end of the Vietnam War. And at this point in the story, because keep in mind, the events of the first movie have transpired, Rambo finds himself behind bars. He is visited by his former mission commander, Colonel Sam Troutman, and offered a deal. Despite the war in Vietnam being over, there are concerns some American prisoners of war are still in captivity. If Rambo can successfully conduct a solo infiltration mission to confirm these reports, he would be given a pardon. And part of the deal is that Rambo is not supposed to engage. He's simply supposed to infiltrate, do some recon, take some pictures, and report back. But spoiler alert, he does engage in a whole bunch. He jumps out of an aircraft, loses all of his gear, and that's kind of where this collectible lands us in the storyline. We're seeing the stripped down version of Rambo. Just a man, a bow, an explosive tipped arrow, and a mission only he can carry out. So that sort of grounds us in the Rambo franchise and where we are in the story and what this is referencing. Let's take a closer look at the collectible itself. This fully animated collectible includes sound, is classified as an ultra rare, and will have a price of 60 gems. In total, 2,400 editions will be minted. This very first Rambo digital collectible from Studio Canal celebrates the iconic hero, and it's going to also allow us to place not just an animated Rambo that's firing off explosive arrows, but also just a beautiful patch of earth. The landscape itself that Rambo is stood upon for many of you diehard vault decorators is likely going to see some use for a number of different vault decoration applications. And that's a wrap for this breakdown video. Best of luck if you decide to go for this one. I'm an 80s baby, so this is just a slice of nostalgia that is likely going to find a place in my showroom. Until the next video, keep learning, sharing, and collecting the things that you love. This is Corey with VeVe, signing off.